It's about the next stage that everybody starts to think about, this next moment which is on the horizon, and every single point that matters in a short run championship like this one is. We're flipping the grid, we are flipping a little bit of script, and we're getting ourselves ready for racing action here today in your VVRC, your Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship. From Volkswagen Motorsport, they launched the Polo Cup in 2010, marking their entrance into Indian motorsport. The aim was to provide a platform for young drivers to begin professional racing and display their skills on a national level. And since then, they have produced many race drivers who have progressed to race internationally. Since its inception in 2010, Volkswagen Motorsport India's goal has been to develop motorsports in India, to find and groom India's next international racing star. They demonstrate technologies like TSI and DSG via their motorsports platform, and the brand boasts of successfully completing 10 seasons of one-make championships with different Volkswagen cars, winning the Indian Touring Car Championship in its debut, along with wins in the Indian National Rally Championship. They've now gone on to launch the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship, which we're with today here, focusing on bridging the gap between virtual racing and real-world racing by giving a fully sponsored season to the winner of the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship. The driving force as well is India's first docu-series based on motorsports in India and is produced by VWMI. It's a 6-part series that takes audiences on a trip of a lifetime and brings out the forces that drive individuals to take up the unconventional sport. On top of that, the show is going to be streamed on some of India's largest OTT platforms, such as Disney+, Hotstar, Jio TV, and many, many more. Also, massive shout-outs go to MRF, the high-grade tyre manufacturing company in India, which supplies its tyres nationally and internationally as well. Associated for 5 years with Volkswagen Motorsport India, they are the major supporter of motorsport in India with their active contribution in the Indian National Racing Championship, also along with rally programs in India and international level Formula 4000 championships. Massive shout out also has to go to Venky's. The Venky's Group is the largest fully integrated poultry group in Asia. Today it plays proud parent to a number of reputed organizations under its wide umbrella and successfully caters to poultry and its allied sectors, along with the NECC, the National Egg Coordination Committee. They are an association of poultry farmers in India with a membership of more than 25,000 farmers. In the past 2 decades, the NECC has played a significant role for the betterment of poultry industries in general and the egg industry in particular. Associated Venky's and NECC for 2 years, active contribution they have done in developing, supporting and promoting sports in the country, athletes and consumption of appropriate nutrition and proteins throughout various initiatives here today. My name is Jake Sperry. I'm joined once more by Solomon Paras here as we're about 3 minutes away from the start of racing action here today for round 2 of this championship. And well, Solomon, the big point of contention goes down to some drivers had good races, some had good recoveries. Now with the top 12 in first, how is that going to just bottleneck things up for a race that has an extra 10 minutes on the horizon?
Hello, Jake, and hello, everyone. This is going to be very, very interesting for two. If you are Aru Ravindra, you won the race yesterday, and you are Stephen, who finished at number 2 yesterday, you're going to be starting at 11 and 12, respectively. So we are doing a reverse grid, just to let you know. This is the top 12 reverse grid. That is, yesterday you finished a race as a race winner. You come back today to start at number 12. Jake, this does make a lot of interesting for sure. For a guy like Amit and somebody like Kandoria, each of them were looking to Kotia, were trying to look to make an impression. They possibly have the positions at the moment somewhere in the middle. So somewhere at 7th or 8th, they could actually make up positions very early.
And let's talk about Arsen Kothadia for a moment, because he had to have a really strong drive through the pack to pick up a victory last time out, just 1 day ago. He dropped down after a lap 1 incident all the way back to about position 21 in the field, and he fought back for a top 10 finish, which was absolutely incredible to see that sort of level of drive. And to now put himself in the prime position, he now has to try and go out there on the offensive today, look to attack those drivers who have the front of the field to themselves at this stage. And every battle on the horizon, Solomon, is now going to be just that more charged.
You're spot on. Because when I was looking at the drivers list and their favorite track, strange as you may call it, none of them mentioned Imola. Somebody was talking about Silverstone, somebody was talking about the Booth International Circuit, but nobody talked about Imola because this is a challenging track. Jake, you got that spot on. More than that, this is one of those tracks that you go anti-clockwise, not the clockwise again. So there's a setup of the car that really needs to be on the curbs again. We saw a lot of pushing, which was happening, a little bit of contacts in the earlier part of the race. Towards the end, we found a lot of people going off the track multiple number of times, going on the grass and getting some marbles there. They got to be a little careful. It's going to be a very cautious start for somebody who's starting at number 4 or number 5. But Aro Ravindra, Stephen, and along with this gentleman from Netherlands, we're going to call him Oshan. He's going to be he needs to get on the offensive very, very quickly.
And it's all about that offense in the early stages. When you do have a reverse grid, it's all about cleanly and effectively making a way through the field. I'll actually buck the trend. I'll say this is my favourite circuit that I ever get to see racing and call racing at. This is one of those tracks which really does stick out in my mind. The lights procedure, the 6 red lights are about to go on. We will have 40 minutes then of racing action brought to you here in the VVRC. It's round 2 here as we get ourselves ready. Top driver on the grid is back in the pit, so it's time to get away and get on going. So it'll be a nice, easier start then. And those who are 11 and 12 are now 10 and 11 as they get themselves fanning out then towards the Tamburello chicane, the opening section. 3 wide already. They were for just a moment, fanning down into 2 wide as they go through. Already dramas in the background. 2 spinners, 3 spinners going around there in the back, but it's nicely worked through in the early stages. No real dramas to speak of here as they get themselves going, but it is in the background where all the dramas happen. We've got another spinner then right there in the early stages as it's all been dramas in and around the back. Someone else going around right now. It seems like the mid to late pack here have not had the best of starts. It's been clean though from the front 7 rows of this grid.
Well, it's been one of those starts where you kind of expected this kind of a little bit of a confusing, little bit of crammed start. I must say, most of them got away with corner number 1 and corner number 2 quite neatly. It was just towards Variante, Wilman corners, where things started heating up, where one of the cars just went off the track a little bit. Now, this is a very important time. As the opening lap, they really got to make sure that they get the onslaught very quickly. We talked about track limits yesterday, and that's come into the question very, very quickly as well.
Yep, certainly has. Tej Patel at the front of the field immediately under pressure then as they jam on the brakes to the Variante Alta for the very first time. And now looks to try and get the best possible exit out of the corner. And you can see just how everyone wants to get in. That's Sonawara in second position, wants to get through. Some side-by-side for third place now as Kofnadia wants in here. He's on the outside, trying to turn that to the inside here. And we've got a bit of Noah's Ark racing here. It's too wide, it's too deep. And oh no, contact already. Sonawara went in deep. Patel followed him in exactly the same place, and he gets shuttled out there with a huge bit of contact there going through that section. Immediately, massive incident on the opening laps, and someone else going around here. Nobody's had the really good start here to really cement exactly what they need. We've got a lap now already scored in the books on some side-by-side here for third place.
2 wheels on the track and 2 wheels in the air. 2 cars taken out of the same line, and now in a matter of 4 corners, we already had 2 change of positions. It's car number 23 in the lead. We'll get you the names in just a bit, but very importantly, the way I see it, I saw Stephen making our positions at the back. We will come back to you in just a moment. That's car number 8, just trying to follow. That's part of the mid pack again, but quite a few positions have been gained right at the back. One gentleman you and I need to talk about today is AKA Ronnie C. Rock. Remember, he's a 6-time Guinness World Record. He's also got an interesting statistic that shows him outperforming world death-defying stunts. That's 10 races in 1998, way back, 14 races in 2004, 1 pole poster, and you got to know him as AK Ronnie C. Rock. So how is he going to do it? We're going to tell you about it just a bit as the action continues.
Certainly does. A little bit of contact there in front of Ronnie Westerberger. That's not what he wanted to see. Going down now through Piratella over towards the next section. He's one of the few drivers out there who can boast a claim in terms of one of those very interesting battles. He takes a big tap. 1, 2, 3 bits of contact as they all go through. He is one of those drivers who has beaten Michael Schumacher at a junior level, and that is something that is very, very hard to claim that you have in the back pocket, but he's certainly hoping that he can climb up the field at this stage. Front of the pack, though, has really opened out in the early stages, mainly because this has been a very, very aggressive start to this race. So you can see there as they fan through the front stretch. Hopefully we'll get an idea of who is exactly where, but it is the number 23 out there in front without too many worries behind, as this could be that runaway race that we have been talking about. Ozan Kothadia is in position number 1, exactly where he wants to be early, and now he can have one focus, running away with this race.
Spot on, Jake. Very quickly, when you talk about Imola, you're absolutely right. For commentators, for the spectators, this is a brilliant track, because this brings in those action that on every corner, you're fighting for every corner. This is one of those tracks where you talk about how you got to master the art of late braking. You got to maximize your braking time. If you do not do so, you'll be vulnerable, because we've already seen that. We've already seen 3 leaders changing in the last 3 laps. So we are still very early, and look at the kind of action that we're already talking about.
Absolutely, Aravindra looking to go on the attack here down towards Aqua Minerale. Has he got the opportunity to go out and make that move a reality on the brakes just now? He doesn't just yet, but we're going to step aside for one moment. We'll be back with more after this.
Racing, competing, is in my blood. It's part of me, it's part of my life. I've been doing it all my life. It stands up before anything else.
So we've been here for 10 years now, and we've been kind of creating the journey. We've been very much focusing on young drivers in order to create also a wider scale in this country.
The idea of Volkswagen as a brand is to support and grow motorsport.
They will not be able to hear anything.
Opportunity attacking then as we focus on car number 23, Ozan Kothadia, leading this race outright here as we are inside the opening 8 minutes of this 40-minute event and absolutely flying about with things at this moment in time, heading through the Villeneuve chicane. There is the 07 trying to give on chase at this point in time, and this is going to be all about this battle that we see out on circuit and how we've seen, especially in the front of this sort of race, how this is going to be about trying to get aggressive and trying to make those places up early. And we have seen that in the early proceedings of this one right now, but there is also a lot of talking point that has to go into something like this as we do file on board here, Solomon, because early stages is fine, but this is a reverse grid race. There is no room for resting. You're not going to get any opportunities for another reverse grid race, so you have to leave everything on the table right now, and that's why we saw such an aggressive start in the mid to late pack.
You always looking at the Welburn corner where you have to get your 50% of the braking done much earlier before you get into your corner, because most of the mistakes that we saw was a lot of nerves kicking in because the guys were trying to brake way too late. I just thought they didn't get onto the throttle a little bit earlier. I think as the race comes to them, they're getting a little bit better right now, and I do expect more close nose to tail action in the next couple of minutes, because for sure we are seeing the drivers getting a little better and the lap times are getting a little better as well.
And there we just see Jamie Shaw picking up 2, now 3 positions in 2 corners there. Spinner on the inside, slow driver on the outside, and then picks one up on the exit and gets another one. It could be 4 in a row on the run to Tamburello. He goes to the right-hand side. This has been an excellent stage of corners here for Jamie Shaw, who wants to go the long way to make it happen. That's not going to work, but this is where aggressive racing starts to come into play. Moving through the left-hander, the third party Tamburello, now looking to attack here in towards the Villeneuve chicane. We've seen him be brave here before. He's thinking about the inside. This time he's not going to be able to try it, but look at that again. He did so yesterday. He's done it again. Around the outside, picks it up, but now, try and fight for some room, why don't we? And straight into the door. That's not going to be the most useful way to make these moves happen. And effectively, now you've got to try and drive like everyone is pretty much on skates.
The arms came out there saying like, hey, just let me get ahead of you. So I'm not sure that it was the best intention there, but he almost lost his balance of the car there. Now he's just got to put that behind him and try and just concentrate on the track ahead of him and just wait for the race to come to him. This is going to be a very, very nail-biting finish for sure, especially this pack. Did I see 6? Okay, correction. I saw about 8 cars in this shot here. So this is going to be as interesting as ever.
Absolutely it is. And they're all going to funnel through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 there in the pack right now as they try and find a way to move on forward. And there's a bit of side-by-side behind them as well, so they don't want to be doing too much. But this is one of the sorts of things that makes Polo Cup racing really something fantastic to look at here. And one of the keys as we look at the 11 machine here of Jamie Shaw, as he looks to try and get past that 05, I do believe that is, trying to get on through. This is all about trying to get the best possible run to get those moves happening. But when you're in the pack like this, and you get such a strong tow along this long 1 kilometre straight, it means that anyone could be in the right position. This is like watching super speedway stuff right now.
I couldn't agree more.
Let's move off stage left, as we just had a look at it there. So Aditya, okay, as we keep on looking back, but there were 2 that went straight off the road. In fact, you can see there, one still trying to reverse to get back into a position to attack back on track. So that's how easy it can go wrong. A pack that does swell up here, Solomon, get a little bit larger, is more prone to go off.
This is one of those times that you really, as we talk about Imola, some of the best passing moves you've seen needs to be planned a couple of corners earlier. Now these guys are possibly trying to say, okay, here's an opportunity, let me just try and brake a little late, and that's where the mistakes is coming in. Car number 17 on your screen at the moment, and this is going to be more of Aro Ravindra's very, very tentative style. He's just waiting for the race to come to him, but Aro Ravindra is up quite a few positions. Remember, he started in position number 12. Earlier on, he also lost a position, somewhere during the start, and he gained his position. So I believe his stopping is definitely in the mix right now, and I wouldn't be surprised that he would try to win this race. It'll be interesting, starting at number 12, all the way winning this race hands down towards the end. Now this is going to be a very interesting fight. It's a good one by Aro. Can he go ahead and finish this one in style?
Well, he was fighting there just for second position, but we're going to jump away very, very briefly. We'll be back with more after this.
Power. You only understand it when you feel it, you know? And when you do, trust me, you'll know why we live for these nights.
Volkswagen.
Racing, competing, is in my blood. It's part of me. It's part of my life. I've been doing it all my life. It stands up before anything else.
So we've been here for 10 years now, and we've been kind of creating the journey. We've been very much focusing on young drivers in order to create also a wider scale in this country.
The idea of Volkswagen as a brand is to support and grow motorsport.
Well, here's where the battles are. As we can see, it is going to be a big scrap out there overall. Ara Ravindra is now up into third position, past Pratik Sonawana, and getting exactly what is needed at this stage here in this event. On the brakes into the Ravatsa 1 and Ravatsa 2. At this stage, you can see how a lot of drivers have made good progress in the early stages, but you can also see how a couple of drivers here and there maybe haven't had as much fun over the course of a couple of laps here today. One who is surprising here, down in 11th place, now in 10th place here, is Steve Smuts, who's really not been able to go anywhere so far here in this one. There is Kothadir, your race leader, and he's not a million miles clear of Amit Kuti, who clearly here, Solomon, has eyes sighted on what he needs, and that is to gain places and go up into the race lead.
Yes, yesterday towards the end, we were talking in the interviews about how Amit Kuti had really picked up his racing here, and more importantly, he's a young guy who's learning the ropes here again. Now, this is really going to stand him in good. Now, Kotadia has really put in behind him the entire disappointment of yesterday. Now he's got a chance to kind of redeem himself. But Aro Ravindra is the danger man. Can he hold him back for a little bit longer? That's anybody's guess at the moment. Car number 8 on your screens at the moment. Oshan Kotiria has done well so far. Can he do it well and make sure Aro Ravindra stays behind him? That's the question that we're going to be asking today.
There is Steve Smuts on screen then, who is trying to really attack. Now, here's the worry that Kothadir has. It's not going to be from Ravindra. He's got 10 seconds on Ara Ravindra plus. He's only got a couple of seconds over Amit Kuti right now. So that's going to be the main concern. He's going to be pushed all the way here by Amit, who definitely had the cut above in the Indian E-Racing Championship just a couple of weeks ago. So now you start to wonder here, if Kothadir feels like he's comfortable here driving right now, has Kuti now finally understood what it takes to really get the most out of this car with an extra day's worth of practice in the back pocket?
Right, let's quickly run through the grid as we have it. Oshan number 1, it's Ajit number 2, we are Arora with the number 3, Pratik at number 4, Rishabh at number 5, Manchal at number 6, Aditya Pawar at 7, and Tej Patel at 8. And these are your top 8 at the moment. Now the bigger difference of the fight is between the 5th and all the way down to the 8th position. Interesting battle. Well, we're also looking at the man of the moment as well. We were talking about a 6-time world record, Guinness World Record holder, Ronnie C. Rock, cover number 14, on your timesheet at number 14 at the moment. Well, he has a lot of hard work ahead of him, but he's still very early in the race. Can we expect more drama? We want more of that. So Aro Ravindra possibly has a little time on his hand. Jake, do you agree with me on this one? He possibly has a little more time on his hand. He could actually catch up on the leaders. as the lap keep coming to him.
Well, he's got 20 minutes left here and a little bit more on top of that. So we're just about heading to the halfway stage here in this race and finding out exactly who is where and who can find what as we focus right now on the 08 of Steve Smuts once again up the rise from Tozer and looking to try and chase down for 9th position. A lot of these places here have a huge gap in between them. The top 5 have really split out, and then from there everyone is split by about a second on back to the top 10 places at this moment in time. So that's going to be something just worth keeping in mind at this stage as we focus on car number 26. This is Swaraj Dav at the moment here, who is being a little bit chased down here by Ronnie Vesselberger. But we did have an opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with Swaraj Dav about his racing and how he's trying to make things happen, as there's some big opposite lock just about saved with a bit of a snap oversteer to boot.
Hi, I'm Swaraj Yadav from Navi Mumbai, and I had always had interest in cars mainly. And for the first time I saw a race was, I think, 2016 British Grand Prix. Like, I was surfing through channels. I think I was watching a cricket match, and I was surfing through channels because of the ad. So I just watched some cars, F1 cars. I really didn't know anything about F1 in 2016. So I just watched it, and it was a damp race. So everyone was sliding around. I think Fernando Alonso went off in the first corner and almost hit the barrier. And it was like quite exciting. And then the next race I watched was Brazil 2016. So which was a very, very exciting race. So I got hooked up.
There we see Swaraj Dav having a pretty solid run of things at the moment, up in 12th position here, and is looking to try and move on forward. He's got a bit of company, though, in Glenn Suchitha, which is not quite part of the plan, but to be up there in 12th position, starting outside of those top 12 inverted places, did Swaraj Dav. So he's having a pretty good run of things today to get himself to exactly where he needs to right now. And he knows that he's maybe only got to find maybe 2-3 seconds up the road to get to position 11.
Just quickly tell you about the drivers that we have here today with us. Of course, we have a
We do have a lot of drivers here today who are certainly hoping that they have themselves a good run. We just lost Solomon there just for a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. But the conditions here that we see here, everybody looking to try and find that one right result, which gives them exactly what they need. We've been focusing quite a bit here on Steve Smuts trying to chase down, but it's 2 in front of him where the battle really is starting to heat up at this moment in time. You can see that 3-car train there, which is definitely starting to close on in. There's the number 14 car, definitely wanting to get into the mix. That's Tej Patel in 8th place. He was your pole sitter, technically, here in this one, after the original pole sitter decided, you know what, I'm going to start from the back here in this race and not really have a good run up through and not really deal with maybe the pressures of being at the front. But you can see here, these top 3, these 3 drivers right now, I should say, they definitely want to try and get in and have this real attack for what is now the fight for 6th place here. You got Munjal Sabla, who had a really, really understated run yesterday, as well as Aditya Pawar, who definitely here in 7th is in the worst place possible. He's in a sandwich. He's going to be looking behind and in front, and he knows that he can't afford to be out of line here at any moment in time. Solomon, if you are here, this is one where it really all starts to get on going.
Oh yes, Tej Patel is almost sandwiched out there. Quite a lot of them would like to actually try to break away from the pack. Now this is one of those moments where aggression alone will not help you a little bit. You possibly need to let the race come to you, let an opportunity come to you. It's possibly risk versus reward at the moment. Tej Patel was just getting a little nervous there. He just has to hold his own and possibly wait for his chance to come in front of him. Like that almost came. You have to almost look for a moment that somebody ahead of him could be fighting for position, could just wait that little opportunity there.
Yeah, chance was coming about, but ultimately does not find exactly what is needed at that moment in time. So it's all about attacking here through this section and hopefully finding what you need. We'll go on board then here in the middle of the train with Aditya Pawar, who now has to really focus on how to attack these corners. He can't afford to lose sight of the car in front. He'll lose that toe, that slipstream down this long 1 kilometre straight, which is prime for overtaking into Tamburello.
I just got a feeling that he possibly braked a little too early into that corner, because we've already seen that car ahead of him go at least a length more, a car length more again, so he will not be able to get himself in position there. It's that little things that you do with your braking is what sets him up. This time he did it much better. He has to repeat that effort one more time again.
He was a little bit concerned there about some side-by-side, and this train of 3 is very, very fast and rapidly approaching a train of 5 right now, which is not part of the plan at all. Someone who is having a good plan out there today is Glenn Suchitha, who is in 13th position right now. We had an opportunity to sit down and talk with him today and see how he was feeling about his sim racing so far.
Hi guys, my name is Glenn. I am formerly an automotive journalist, but funnily enough, I do consider myself as a sim racer primarily because, like a lot of us, I was always very enthusiastic about automobiles and all of that stuff. But growing up, never really had access. And funnily enough, it was sim racing that provided that access to me in the form of I was one of the finalists for the GT Academy, and that really opened up the world of automobiles to me, and it's been a great ride ever since. Although over the years have gone by, the competition is extremely stiff. I have no pace, and there are a lot of these really great drivers. But happy to be here, and let's see how it goes.
A number that's lucky for some, position number 13, but it could be position number 12 in the not too distant future, with that car just in front of him. The number 18 of Glenn Suchitha is really starting to rile on up and get a little bit closer. At the front, it is Oshan Kotadia, who has led this race by a very long time right now. But look at the gap here compared to himself and Amit Kuti. You can see on screen, it is not much at all at the front. It's down to about 3-4 tenths of a second, which really does show you here how very difficult it is to break away. Ravindra is starting to close on in, but not at a rate of knots, which is going to put him in a position to attack. He's hoping that he's got a little bit more time on the horizon, but look at the work that Kuti's done over the last 15 minutes or so, Solomon, to pull 2 seconds back down into a manageable gap.
Wonderfully said that right now. If you're looking at the grid there and the timesheet, the top 2 have done 151s. Aru Ravindra's the best lap time, did about 152. Now you go beyond the 7th and the 8th position, it is a 153. So there is a lot of muscle to fight out here for. Just to quickly tell you, this is a race, if I have to say, for Oshan Kotadia to lose. He's done everything well. All he's got to do is just hold on to that position. He's got the whole shot. He's got the race lead. He's got a clear track ahead of him. All he's got to do is play defensive, because the guys coming behind him are slightly slowing her down just a little bit. So he's got the pace. All he's got to just hang in there. This could be very interesting as we come to a close. 13 minutes and 30 seconds to go. How are we going to space this one?
How's this one going to work out and play in the minds? This will come down to a battle of willpower, some would say here at this stage, going through the left of Tamburello looking to attack. There is 3rd place and one winner from last time out, of course. That is Aru Ravindra, who wants to get into the mix, but he is 11 seconds off of the race lead. He's about 10 seconds here off of the battle at the front of this pack, and knows that this is going to be very, very tough to close down in and make a reality of the passing that needs to be available. We have just seen a couple changes up and down the order. Smuts is now up into 8th place. He's through on Ryden Samaravel. In fact, he's now through on Aditya Pawar as well, as he tries to go down the inside to get that one done on Pawar, and he does. So Aditya forced to wait behind here as Smut has finally found a little bit of vava and voom to jump up now into what is 7th place.
Steve goes up to 7th position, and Aditi Pawar number 8, and Tej Patel now with that fighting performance there stays at number 10. He'll be hoping that he can at least get 1 or 2 positions up. Glenn outside the top 12 at the moment. Lalit at number 14, but the man in the lead trying to catch up. Aru Ravindra still has more than 10 or 11 seconds to catch up on. Interesting mix we have in our grid today. Raikaru Ravindra has been, of course, a racer as well. He's been the 2019 JKDAD Novice Cup champion. We also have Oshan Kutaria, who's also been the 2011 Volkswagen Vice Champion, raced extensively in the Sirocco Cup as well. We also have Raiden Simmerwell, who's been part of the Rotax Max Challenge Series. We also have Raj Tula, who's also been part of the Endurance Series as well. So, Jake, there are a lot of folks who are taking part in the race today are real racers who've been on track as well.
The way I like to say it is that any real racer is just a sim racer with money. That's the way that I see racing at this stage, and you can just know and see that right now, because at this stage, Amit Kuti is really giving Koffadia the hurry-up message here. He gets a little heavy over the anti-cut curve. That pushes him wide through the second part of the Villeneuve chicane, and all of a sudden, another lap is going to go by where Koffadia has got the margin.
I think Villeneuve chicane has got all the best actions that we've seen. We've seen somebody going off the track, we've seen making some overtaking, late braking. So it's given us the best of action if you want me to pick that one particular corner. Unlike yesterday, where yesterday we were talking about the Tosa corner. Today it's the Villeneuve corner. Moving on, just to tell you, this is the Volkswagen Polos that you're seeing being raced here today. Now, they are the only original engine manufacturers in rallying as well as circuit racing and now virtual racing. They've been doing the Volkswagen Racing Championship for a very long time now, but being the first winner way back when the Buddha International Circuit happened was Kartik Tarni, and the tradition of racing champions continue with Volkswagen here.
And you can see just how these battles are really starting to heat up. There's the focus back on the driver who finished second last time out, Steve Smuts, and that's the gap he's got to Aditya Pawar, who is under his own fight right now for 8th and 9th position on the road, and this rise up the hill is certainly going to be one where there wants to be some attacking. We're going to step aside. We're inside the final 10 minutes of this race. We'll be back in just a couple of seconds' time after these messages.
Power is, you only understand it when you feel it, you know?
Volkswagen.
Side by side, almost there for Raiden Samravel, who has been quietly working through this race to try and put himself in a position. This has been a really strong drive from the O2, who wants to try and get on through. This is the 8th place, and he has got himself in the draft now. Looking at this one, which way do you want to go? A wide line being taken here by Pawar, who wants to try and cover that inside when it comes to Tamburello. Little think about the outside inside. Had to jam on the brakes slightly there, did Samravel, who got himself caught in a little bit of no man's land trying to figure that out. So Solomon, ultimately, car placement here now needs to be key for Samravel. It's clear he's got the pace.
Absolutely, because one thing when you're looking at the straight line braking, it's the release of the brake pad just before you turning in, trying to roll up the speeder just a little bit on the ideal way. But sometimes you can upset the rear of it, and the man on your screen has really seen the taste of that medicine here today. I just hope he's able to just put that behind him and add a little bit of pressure, maybe turn in a little too quickly. It will surprise the guy ahead of him. So it's still the battle that we're talking. So anyone who's watching this, if we still got about 8 minutes, this is the time. You don't go anywhere and you just hang into that action and just have a look, because this looks to be a battle that's going down to the wire, and I'm already chopping my nails.
Well, we're back on board here with Amit Kuti, who's trying to chase down for this race lead, and it's not as if it's going to be the easiest battle in the world. He's just on the fringes of a second through a number of the straights, and he's getting that gap down in the corners to what he needs. But then when you get the power down on the exit, you just start to lose that drive and that getaway, and that's the worry that Amit Kuti's having, just not being consistent enough to close down that gap. These drivers have got no worries behind. There's the mistake, though, from Kothadia, and this is what Kuti's been working for. One small mistake here or there gets the gap down now to 2/10 and can finally find himself in striking range.
Well, it's on the straight where he had his advantage. This is the moment that he's got his advantage. He's got to use it to add as much as he can. Maybe break in a little bit earlier. This is the time he should just keep applying the pressure and get that little mistake out of him. But just to let you tell you, Amit Kuti has been a little weaker than the race leader at the moment on the corners. But it's the corners that's played to the advantage of Kuteria. But then that little mistake has got him so close to ever. This is the time where he's got to play defensive. Come on, onto the break much early. No, he's still been able to do that. This is getting very interesting now.
This is all about setup here. We don't expect this move to come until the front stretch. He's got not enough of a drive here to make this one happen when it comes to the next section of road, the two Ravazza left-handers, but he needs to have a clean and consistent line through this corner, nicely in through the first part. The second part, though, has he got himself aggressive over the curve? Yes, he has. He's got a good drive off the exit. So now he's got to rely here on a really good attack up there in fifth gear, hoping that sixth gear will come along and he'll be really trying to ratchet up the pace. But again, Kothadir gets such a good run out of the second Ravazza that he pretty much nullifies here the main overtaking opportunity out there on track. We look a little bit further back though to the likes of Munjal, who's doing well, but we've also got drivers maybe a little bit further down the field like Rohit Raut, who is definitely a fan favourite down there, who is about in 18th place right now. We had a little conversation with him earlier to work out how he was doing out there as we see the 08 looking to make a way past a bit of lap traffic.
I am basically from Pune, born and brought up here. I'm 29 years old, and I'm an engineer, and I work with Dassault Systems uh, as a 3D site creative designer. So when I was kid, like say around 5 or 6 years old, on the television set, my dad was just scrolling through the channels, and then on one of the channels, I don't remember, he told me that, see, there's this car race going on, and people are racing around, and then at the same time there happened to be a pit stop, and he told me that, see, these guys are like changing tires in seconds and all. So I just got fascinated seeing that, and then I just since then I just started scrolling now and then the sports channel, and I then got to know that there's this kind of sports also.
Well, that was our conversation with Rohit Raut there. He's doing okay at the moment. That is Smuts, I do believe, who's trying to chase on down. He's not going to be scoring as many points as he did early on, but it is that top two where the focus will be for the final 4 minutes, surely, here of this race. Kothadir has been trying to break away in terms of best laps. Kuti is better by a 1/10 of a second. And look at this, they go into the opening couple of corners, tucked up underneath. And I think waiting for the right time where he's not going to be attacked back again here, Solomon, here in this race. He's got to play patient, but he's got to find the right time to strike. And he's waiting once more for one more mistake.
He's waiting like a sniper, but I just hope it's risk versus reward. I'm a little concerned here because Rai Kothadir will be running into back marker traffic again. There will be some back markers there ahead of him. We almost saw them in the screen earlier. I'm just a little bit worried there. Now, this could possibly play into the hands of Amit. Now, if he's able to do that well, use one of the back markers, maybe slow things down a little bit, he could be all over back again. We could possibly look at a new race leader. But back markers are at least about 4 corners ahead of him. But Amit is now possibly putting in his best lap times of his race, putting his best race performance of the race so far, and he's got to make sure that he's got to keep it on as well.
Well, this is the issue. Amit Kuti's been so good into the entries of these corners, but Kothadir has been so good on the exits here. That's a good run this time here from Amit Kuti, but he just can't get the drive down in comparison to Kothadir, who's just able to pull out enough of a gap. It's at a 1/3 of a 1/10 of a second as they now jam on the brakes into the 2 lefts here of that. So they've got 2 minutes 35 left on the clock. They've got 2 laps to figure this race out. And with 2 laps to work it out, you're now starting to get yourself into 2-lap drill, so to speak. It's almost like 2-minute drill in the NFL, the American National Football League. But now you start working out, okay, where do I start to attack? Where do I start probing? There's going to be a weakness somewhere, and look at that run here. Already Kothadir is starting to defend here, and this is going to start holding both of them up. Kuti has now got exactly what he wants. Driver on defense.
This is more. Come on, now they almost touch again. Kothadir now will have to defend a little more aggressive there on that corner again. He's possibly waiting for the left-hander to come in and a quick right-hander coming in to just close the door on him. He's just seeing that Amit Kuti has done everything possible.
Go on. Oh, it's contact as they go through. That's not going to be quite nice there for Amit Kuti, but he's shown a hand here to say, I'm going to attack around the outside. I'm going to go and try and get the unconventional methods here, Solomon, to try and work this out.
Amit Kuti has tried everything in the book. He's tried late braking, he's tried going into the corner again, he's tried drafting now again. We've always seen Kothadir he's got a very, very strong straight line speed. May not be as strong on the corners again, but it's the corners which is really turning out to be an advantage for Amit Kuti. Can he pull one more off? He's done it the last time again. Come on, closer. Drive in a little late again. Look at the aggression Kothadir had to put in for that particular corner there.
So aggressive, but Amit Kuti here, if he wants to get this race win and upset the party, as Kothadir has led pretty much most of this race so far. He's got one more lap to figure this one out. There's a mistake, though, a missed apex through the first part of the Ravatsas. This is prime, a good second part, but just almost closing up too close. There is Kuti. This is the chance immediately. There is the drive from Oshan Kothadir. He's able to run up through the gears a lot better than Amit Kuti is, and Kuti's going to have to rely on that second phase here of acceleration to close the gap back down in, and he does so again, and he looks to attack again. Here as they go to Tamburello. This is the last lap of the race. There are no doubts about it. Kothadir does defend through the first part. Second part, and now it's about this drive here towards the Villeneuve chicane. We have seen moves so far done, and immediately here, Kuti's having none of it. He moves to the inside, trying to take this one away. Has he got enough, though, on the brakes? He has finally got it, but he's off the road with a bit of contact. Can he get it back on safely? There goes Kothadir, sweeping around the outside and picking up the race lead once again. So Kuti thought he had it done, a little bit of contact between them, and ultimately Kothadir still manages to hold on the position. Now we're up the hill now, fighting towards Piratella corner, and as far as things have gone, with this gap over the prior lap, Amit Kuti has never got close enough to go out there, send one down the inside, and make something happen. It may be a bridge too far at this moment, but he's been so good through this corner. There is Kothadir heading to Acqua Minerale for the final time here as they take that rise back up the hill once again. The Variante Alta will come up next. Easy to get it wrong if you're too aggressive over the curb. Look at how much time they've lost to Ravindra. That gap was 10 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's down to 5 as they've been fighting. But we know that Ravindra's not going to get close enough. But it's about Kuti's run, and he's got a stormer here throughout the Variante Alta. He may have a chance into Ravatsa. He's going to have to go the long way round to make this one happen. Inside lead, now on the brakes. It's all about the last of the late braking here through this section. They leave each other just enough room, and he's got it around the outside, has he? Absolutely he has. But now it's about a drive to the line here. Kuti's got position. Kothadir focusing every stage of the way. But again, it's that drive here from Oshan Kothadir that pulls him alongside, that pulls him ahead, and will surely just give him that race victory, and does by just a 1/10 of a second.
You can't get closer than this. You can't get closer than this. This is why we love to watch races. This is cliffhanger stuff. Wow. And they had to get it on the finishing line as well. This has been one of those stuff. This is getting really, really good. But good race so far, by the way. Amit really put down the competition down there. Jake, I really had the edge of the seat stuff is what we were talking about here.
Well, Kothadir has really pulled off a masterclass. He was so good up the gears through the phases of acceleration, and that's what's given him race victory. Here's a battle to the line then, as the number 4 car there of Munjal Savla here just tries to hold off the likes of Raiden Samravel. I think he may have just about managed it as they cross the line here. We don't have confirmed results at this stage, but we will get them after everybody has crossed the start-finish line and finished off with a wonderful result here today. But Kothadir versus Kuti, and it is Oshan Kothadir who does make up for race one's errors and race one's incidents, pulling back to a race victory over the line with a wonderful, wonderful drive coming up towards the end. And Solomon, that's what racing is all about. Really, you thought with a corner to go that Amit Kuti had managed to pull off a masterstroke around the outside at Ravazza 1. But it's all about acceleration with Gothardier's set, and he proved it time and again how difficult of a customer he is to get by.
He was very clear that he knew when he did the car setup, he said he needed more straight line speed. And the afterthought here is that all the prep he did in the car setup is really what has helped him today. Now, more importantly, let's complete credit to Amit. He's possibly lost the race by half a car length and maybe a little error. You said 1/10. Now, that's how close it was. It was so close that towards the end, when you had somebody like Aro Ravindra at 11-second gap, was able to bring it down to about 5. So that's the kind of battle that these guys have been taking it up for the last 4-5 laps. Edge of the seat stuff is what we talk about.
Well, hopefully in just the next couple of moments, we are going to be able to get a full rundown of the classified results here from round 2 of this championship here, the second of the racing here from Imola. But we do have the ability to jump on in and have a little conversation with a couple drivers here and there, hopefully in the not too distant future. First and foremost, here we've been seeing just how amazingly aggressive that we've had a couple of drivers, but we are going to bring in Oshan Kotadia first and foremost here for a little bit of conversation. Now, Oshan, that was a race where you had the gap early. You got to position 1, which with your grid position was probably the goal in the early stages, but it seemed like, for all intents and purposes, it was a defensive drive towards the end.
Hi, can you hear me first?
Loud and clear.
Oh, super. Yeah, it was a defensive drive because I actually had a comfortable gap, and then in the end, yeah, there were back markers, and some of them spun, and one came on track, and yeah, that got really scary. So I had to back off, and then I lost my advantage. And then Amit had slipstream also, so he could keep up even without curves against me. So yeah, it got quite scary in the end, and I am not sure if it got fine later on.
Okay, quick question from me. Just wanted to check with you. Was it a deliberate setup to make sure that your car had a faster straight line? Because when we compare to ROs and even Amit, you seem to have a very faster car on the straight line.
I'll leave that as a secret for my setup.
Okay.
Yeah. But basically, there was nothing different that I had done. I kept it quite similar to the base setup that was provided by VW. So I don't know why I had higher top speed. Maybe it was because I was using curves on the straight.
Well, let's have a little talk here, Oshan, about yesterday in terms of the race that we had, because this was all about your ability to go out there and maybe even try and recover in terms of lost points in the championship. You had a front row qualifying position. You managed to recover back from 21st to 5th yesterday. But today, you're now starting to think about, okay, what's next? Get to the front. You have to battle hard. Let's talk about those final couple of corners, because it looked, for all intents and purposes, like Amit Kuti had that move all signed and delivered. But that front stretch drive from you was simply put, well, how do you stop that? You can't.
Yeah. So yeah, last lap, I actually don't know. I'll keep it up to the stewards because I felt that I braked quite early, and I decided to go to do the over under to get a better exit for the hairpin. But I think it might be under review because Amit might protest. But yeah, in the end, I feel I calculated it just enough for the start finish straight to leave the curves till the end. So yeah, it was quite nice that way. And yeah, for yesterday, I think I was really angry. So that's why, yeah, from 23rd back to 5th, it was a fantastic fight yesterday. Also, quite a memorable drive, I would say.
Well, before we let you go here, Oshan, a race victory here today. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Yeah, I would like to thank Runaway Ritual. It's like a jewelry brand who's been supporting. So I would like to give a shout out for them. And yeah, Volkswagen Motorsport India, and also for IR Esports for collaborating and organizing this fantastic event. And also thanks to you guys, because you guys make it exciting too.
Well, no worries at all. Ashan Kotadia then picks up the race victory overall in that one. We're going to grab in third position and Arrow Ravindra here, the race winner last time out. But today, a different story. Arrow, it looked like he got a little bit bogged down in the early stages of that race, and that really didn't give you the platform to go out and attack for the race victory today.
Yeah, I got caught up a bit in the start, but I think overall it went okay. I had some damage on my car, so I couldn't really push, but overall I'm happy.
Aro, this is Solomon. Knowing you on the track, you are not a big fan of reverse grid starting at number 12.
Yeah, not a big fan, but it's part of racing. But I was just cautious. I didn't want to get caught up in any accident or something, so I was just taking it easy. Yeah.
You managed to put yourself up then into third position then in that one. It keeps you in that championship lead position moving into the next round of the championship. Do you feel that today was all about consolidation, making sure that you're not dropping too many points, that you keep yourself in the prime place and you're the target that everyone else wants to try and go up and beyond and surpass in this championship?
Yeah, today was all about just not going crazy, not not rushing anything, just being calm and pacing myself.
Well, before we let you go here, Arrow, third place position for you here today. And before we let you go, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
I'd like to thank VW for organizing something so amazing, and they're handling it so well, and I'm just glad I can participate in this.
Well, there we have it. Arrow Ravindra getting a third place finish then here in this one. But Solomon, in terms of that championship push, it's all about getting good results early to set form. But form in the early stages is one thing. You now have to carry that on. It will be a different track next week, and that will always be a different battleground that we will be seeing out there when we go out there and battle once more.
You've absolutely laid it out very well, because one guy, Aro Ravindra, when we were speaking to him, you get a feeling that he's cautiously optimistic because he knows he's taken a quite a big haul of points, winning the race yesterday, coming in at number 3 from number 12. So he knows he's already down up to the championship lead there. So he's cautiously optimistic, and he would like to take that form that he'll get. But yeah, the next track is going to be interesting. But you and I really liked Imola for the action that it gave with all the corners that come in.
Absolutely. We are just going to grab quickly a conversation with Amit Kuti. Amit, I know you're not one to shy away from how you feel after a race like that, but surely you felt then at the Villeneuve chicane that that one maybe wouldn't go down in the fair play book.
Yeah, so up until then, I guess it was a really good race, and surprisingly, I didn't get taken out. Or my first lap was really nice, and I think by second lap I was in third or something. And after that, I was just trying to chase Oshan. And by the time I got to second, I was really low on ERS, of course. So I had to save a lot of that, and because of that, I couldn't really catch up to him. But then he made a mistake, I think 2-3 times, and went onto the gravel, and that made me catch up to him. But even after I caught up to him, I think there were a few incidents like back markers getting in the way, and sometimes I think he was brake checking me at the apex. I don't think that's wrong, but yeah, I lost time due to that, and also other back marker guy almost took me out. But up until I think second last lap, that's where I felt it wasn't fair because I was already on the inside and ahead of him, and he kind of turned into me and then gave the place back as well. But other than that, like till the last second, it was quite intense, and it was almost a photo finish. So it was a good race.
Amit, this is Solomon. Fact is, I know you're disappointed or missing out on the race win, but from our point of view, you bought the race alive. Did you think maybe a lap or more, you may have been a chance to possibly be on the winner?
It depends. Like, yeah, maybe but at the same time, I was low on curse, and I don't know how much Oshan had. So if he was low as well, yeah, possibly I could have had a chance at overtaking him.
Well, focus now will go on to next week. Of course, second position, at least temporarily. It depends on whether the stewards will decide to get involved on this or not. You do now have focus. You do now have maybe a little bit of opportunity now to start really kicking on with the season. It was a pretty quiet and conservative race one from you yesterday, but moving on through to today and now into next week, is this the platform that you wanted to give yourself at the start of the season?
Yeah, so even yesterday I knew I had the pace. It was just a matter of putting all the cards together, and I think today I definitely did. And hopefully from next race onwards, it's smooth and sailing like this.
Well, before we let you go, Amit, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank for second place today.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Volkswagen Motorsport and also IR Esports for giving me the opportunity to even be participating in this league, and it's quite an opportunity. And everyone who's participating in this is quite lucky. So I feel I should be thanking all of those guys, including Saurav, Rayo, and others involved in it. So yeah, big thanks to them.
Well, no worries at all. Amit Kuti then comes home in second position here today. But unfortunately, that's where we start to bring proceedings to a close here for this one. A massive thanks to everyone who has got this one done behind the scenes, to the likes of Volkswagen Motorsports, of course, to those who have been working with MRF, Venkies, and the NECC as well, for jumping on with the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship. We'll be back in about 6 days' time for more racing action and some amazing work that's going to go on. In fact, no, I am going to correct myself here. We'll be back on December 5th, so we'll have a week off, and then we'll be back on the 5th of December then for the next round of the championship. You definitely want to join us there, from the likes, of course, of Solomon Parassa, who's been alongside me, and myself, Jake Sperry. It is a win for Cottadia. Controversial circumstances on that final lap, but it was a scrap. It was always going to be a scrap between those two, but it's now about focus. Next round of the championship has arrived, and now it's all about who can stay calm under the pressure and who can find exactly what they need from it.